What's up, CHFFL? It is Sunday. It is playoff time. We're going to do two preview videos today. First with the anime conference matchup of Max versus yours truly. And then afterwards, I'm going to bring you a preview of Marty against Parker in the Fortnite conference. So excited for both of these matchups. I think they're all four are great teams. Max and I are both suffering with some injuries, while Parker and Marty are at full strength for maybe the first time all year. So a lot of different storylines. Either way, let's dive right in. And since we're starting with the anime conference, I have to set the mood. I'm so excited to play against Max here in round one. Let's go, buddy. All right, so in previous matchups, week one, Max beat me 116 to 112, and then 10 weeks later, I returned the favor, winning 141 to 129. Max has scored a lot more points than I have during the season, but Max is much more beaten up than I am right now. I'm complaining about I'm missing Kerryon Johnson and Matt Breida. I feel like my running back depth has been what's gotten me through the year. Johnson and Breida are both solid RB top 20s when they've been healthy this season. And Johnson in particular would be going against Arizona this week, which was one of the best matchups a running back can have. Max, though, definitely has had things a little worse. Melvin Gordon is out for the game. Luckily, Max has his handcuff, Austin Eckler, who also gets a lot of passing work, but it's still not the same, and he might be splitting with this Jackson fellow. OBJ, just announced yesterday, is out for the game, and that was a surprise. So Max had traded for OBJ, got this big piece, and now he's not going to be able to help in the playoffs. Emmanuel Sanders this week tore his Achilles during practice. That is just terrible luck. And I also included Kareem Hunt on here a couple of weeks ago. Of course, got suspended and kicked off the team for altercation in a hotel. Again, Max has Spencer Ware, but you'd still rather have the regular starter. So that's probably good for me and for the matchup because Max is a much better team than me, as you'll see, because it's still this close. We're going to go position by position and look at things. So Max has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and I'm starting Jameis Winston this week. Mahomes, of course, having a historically good year for a quarterback, probably the best quarterback season in like 5 or so years. But he's playing Baltimore's second in the league against quarterbacks this season. That's what the parentheses number means. So we'll see if Baltimore can keep Mahomes in check more than other defenses have. The Kansas City-Baltimore matchup is very interesting for fantasy football in general this week because so many teams have players from the Chiefs. So many teams that have players from the Chiefs made the playoffs. Now, I'm starting Winston a second week in a row, even though I have Matt Ryan, who's been a top 5-ish quarterback this year. But the matchup against New Orleans is too tasty to not try and get a bite. They will hopefully be in a shootout, is what I'm hoping for. And Winston has been a lot better at not throwing interceptions, knock on some wood here, over the past few weeks. I still think Max has an edge at quarterback, but I'm hoping that the matchups bring me up to par a little bit. Now let's look at running backs. So Max going with the two handcuffs for Gordon and Hunt. Austin Eckler is playing Cincinnati, great matchup. But then Ware, again, Cincinnati, and this is going to keep coming up in both preview videos, against Baltimore, the best run defense in the league. Is Ware going to be able to be effective? That's a big question for Max. Now I have Gurley going against Chicago, and Gurley has been my anchor this entire season, and Chicago's run defense is very tough. So I'm hoping Gurley can get involved in the passing game, which the Rams do with him from time to time. And then Sony Michel, my other Georgia boy, has a good matchup against Miami. You'll see Parker starting James White too. I think both New England backs can put up good scores this week. I think running backs, because Max is starting the backups, gives me an edge. And with that Spencer Ware matchup, I think it gives me a little bit of a bigger edge. But when we get into wide receivers, it might be a different story. Adam Thielen is Max's big guy. No OBJ and Sanders really hurts, though. Thielen with a decent matchup against Seattle, 16th best middle of the pack. Tyler Boyd has a tough matchup. Boyd also with A.J. Green out. Big question, is that good for him, or does the increased coverage on him bode poorly? We'll see. And then Curtis Samuel, Max seeming to do a spot start here against a good Cleveland matchup. Devontae Adams, I have going against Atlanta, who's actually been pretty decent against the pass, but again, you hope for a shootout with the Falcons, who are much more offensive than defensive. Adams could have a big day. I'm just hoping he can play even with Thielen. And then Tyler Lockett versus Minnesota. Minnesota's a very good defense, and this is a little bit of a worry for me. Lockett, since I picked him up, every week he's projected to just be okay, and then he does better. I mean, he's a around top 15 wide receiver. The good thing about Lockett, though, is he gets the return points, so even if he doesn't get a lot of targets, I should be okay. Larry Fitzgerald against Detroit. Arizona's just so bad right now, you never know what will happen. Wide receivers, I'm feeling like we might be pretty close. That could go either way, so we'll keep moving on to see if we have any other differentiators. At tight end, Max Trey Burton going against the Rams. That's a good matchup for him. I have Jordan Reed going against the Giants. Now, with Reed, the Redskins are down to their third-string quarterback, Mark Sanchez, who was just added a few weeks ago. So we'll see. That could mean that Sanchez will check down a lot to the tight ends, and Reed could have a pretty decent floor this game, but it could also mean that they're just so bad that no offensive production really happens. I don't think either of these guys are fantastic starts, though, so I don't think it'll make the biggest difference. Finally, I'm not going to talk about kickers. Let's talk about defense. Max picked up the Giants to play the Redskins. The Giants' defense has not been good this year, but I think Max sees Mark Sanchez going in to start for the Redskins and sees it as a matchup-based choice. But the Giants are on the road, too, which for defenses is the only position where I'm going to care about who's home and who's on the road. I picked up the Bills. They wrecked the Jets a few weeks ago in New York and now are going to be home with the Jets. The Bills' defense has actually been pretty decent this year, even though their team as a whole has been garbage. So I am giving myself the nod on the defensive matchup. I understand Max's gamble with the Giants, though. Maybe if Sanchez gets a lot of turnovers, the Giants could run up a good score. But I think defense is in my favor, too. So for the prediction, I'm going with myself, which I hate doing because I feel like it jinxes me. I would have picked Max at any point up until the OBJ injury. Max has the better quarterback, but I think this week in particular, with Mahomes going against the Ravens, that gap is smaller than normal. I have the better running backs, and again, no Sanders and OBJ. Eckler and Ware don't really offer the same upside that Gordon and Hunt did. I just think Max is too banged up, which is pretty unfortunate, but I do think this is a close game. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe. So thanks for watching. Feel free to tune in today. I'm going to have the video up for Parker versus Marty very soon. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, you should subscribe to PewDiePie and unsubscribe from T-Series if you were actually subscribed to them. Just trust me, don't think about it. Just go subscribe to PewDiePie. And we'll be back in a few minutes with the next video. See you then. Good luck, Max.